Hello, and a very warm welcome to Cultural Communication Confidence with me, Victoria Reynoldson. And welcome to the show. Welcome to this episode where we're continuing a second week focus on the launch of my upcoming book, Become a Global Leader. It's not long to wait now. In fact, we only have 1 week to go from the date of release of this episode. So it's coming 17th of November. Mark your calendar. I would love for you to buy your own copy of the book. And this podcast mini series that we started last week is a focus on the four key pillars of the book. We started last week at looking at empowering your confidence. Today, we're going to talk about mastering your clarity to elevate your influence. Then we have, in the third week, we have bridging challenging conversations. And then finally, we also have connect for cultural intelligence. So those are the four pillars of the book. And I want to give you a bit of a deep dive into each of these macro areas, these pillars, so you could understand some of the key themes that you need to know if you are serious about becoming a global leader, you're committed to your own career path, and you have those ambitious leadership goals. If so, this book definitely is for you. And it's incredibly practical, sharing a lot of the strategies and ideas that I use in my work, as well as activation exercises and questions for you to work on so you can apply it straight away. Now, the book is coming, and I'm really excited that as part of that, we're hosting a really special global launch event, which we're going to do online so you can join us from anywhere around the world. It's happening on the launch day of the book, on the release date, Monday, the 17th November. It will be at 6 p.m. GMT, that's London time, and it's completely free for you to join us. And in that session, beyond celebrating, I want to make this a really insightful, high impact session for you. So I'm going to be hosting a masterclass around identifying your unique leadership signature. We're going to have a live Q&A, so you have the opportunity to join me and ask your burning questions about leadership and how to achieve your goals. You also can ask me any question about the book, and of course we'll have competitions and giveaways as well. So it's going to be a really exciting hour together for this particular book launch. So I would love for you to join me. Just to claim your free ticket, all you have to do is head over to www.culturecuppa.com/book-launch, and I'll put that link in the show notes so you can click on it straight away and get your ticket. Look forward to seeing you there. And coming to today's pillar, then, talking about the pillar of mastering your clarity to elevate your influence. Why are we talking about this? Why did I make this a pillar within the book? Well, I think this is a really important theme for aspiring global leaders. And I know through my work with clients over the last 10 years that this is a very important part of being seen as a leader, but also people feeling like they can communicate like a leader. The people that I help usually are very experienced. They have great expertise behind them, qualifications, skills. They have great CVs or resumes. And really, what is often holding them back are these elements, these pillars of global leadership communication. Clarity specifically is an area because I know these aspiring global leaders want to sound eloquent, articulate, concise, express themselves clearly. They want to influence their key stakeholders, but somehow they don't always achieve this. For some of them, it's because they are coming from a more technical background, and what they find is that they are over explaining, going into too much detail, not able to translate their technical, amazing expertise and knowledge into clear business language that is understood by the most senior stakeholders. For others, it's that they are naturally somebody who wants to explain everything, to get into the context and the background. And that can be culturally driven as well. So, what I want to talk about are four key areas that sit underneath this pillar that form the four chapters within this section of my book that's coming up. The first one, which we can talk about, is why is something that's so simple so hard? I think this is a really important part of understanding it. Understanding what we actually mean by clear communication, what does it involve? Also, why can it be challenging? And that is really interesting, particularly in a global context where sometimes people have more of a preference for indirect communication style. And then I look at within this particular chapter the focus around communication channels and the challenges of these. So that is the first part of this pillar. The second chapter explores how to structure your thoughts. And I share in the book some really practical ways for you to do that with a number of different structures that I've used very successfully over the years with my own clients. The ideas of these approaches is that you can use them in a planned way. So you can plan to be clear and to communicate with clarity, but they also can be used spontaneously so that when you are asked a question, when you are giving your opinion spontaneously on a theme, you feel like you can frame it in a way that people understand your ideas and they don't come out in a big jumble of thoughts that are not really clear to others. So, this is really important, knowing the structures that are going to help you. One of the principles that is key to this is I talk about in my book is to slow down your communication to speed up the action. I also share my 360-degree approach to planning your communication. And then finally, I share those range of specific structures that are going to help you in the way that you express yourself. So this one's a really critical chapter. The next chapter, the next topic within this pillar is one that I'm asked about time and time again, which is how to influence effectively. How to influence by creating ideas that convince. And of course, this is a big topic because ultimately, leadership is about creating action. It's about being able to communicate your ideas in a way that has impact, that people will do something as a result. They will say yes to your ideas, that they will follow you, that they will follow the vision that you have and strategy that you have set out. So, this is an incredibly important part of your success. Being able to influence successfully will make you stand out, really, stand out in your clarity. So, how do we do this? Now, there is lots of richness in this chapter, and I'm so excited to share this in the book. We'll talk about in the book, and I'll explain some of the key themes. We talk about setting your intention to influence, and as part of that, knowing who you're influencing. And I share my influence matrix with you, which is a template you can use when planning your own conversations, meetings, and presentations. From there, I share my model, which is the 6 positioning frames, which is a really important way for you to share your recommendations and ideas in a way that are going to land really well with those key stakeholders. So, that again is a great template that you can use in the book and apply straight away. We then talk about designing the communication approach, how to go about it, and thinking particularly about engaging stakeholders, but also thinking about what I call hidden influences within your business, within your organization. This chapter is super rich and there's lots in there for you to dive into and explore. And I highly recommend you check this out when you buy your own copy of the book. The fourth chapter is equally as important. And I was really keen to include this chapter in the pillar that's all about clarity. And this chapter is about mental blocks, what to do when your mind goes blank. Why does it matter? Because I want to be real with you. I want to be real that communication isn't about your communication as a leader, isn't about being perfect. It's not about being polished and absolutely perfect each time you speak. It really isn't. And I know this because I know this for myself. When you listen to these podcasts, I make sure that I don't go back and re record them if I make a mistake. I keep going. I want to show you that I'm real and human. I make mistakes like everybody else. Mental blocks can happen to anybody, particularly if you're in high pressure situations where it really matters, where you're in front of the most senior leaders within your organization and your communication really matters. It's not that you want to avoid it. The most important learning and insight from this chapter is about how you manage yourself through it. And so, what I dive into in this chapter is what is this about? What are these stress responses and how do you manage them emotionally? We talk about the strategies to regain your composure and clarity quickly, and then how to also clearly answer unexpected questions, as this is something that sometimes triggers this mental block. So, there we go. Four incredibly critical themes and topics underneath this pillar that you will discover when you buy the book. This is just meant to be a brief overview of these topics so you can really get a flavor for what is inside. And I'm incredibly excited to share this book with you. I have written it and designed it in a way which means that it's incredibly practical, which is the way that I work with my clients as well. You can apply it straight away. There are exercises, there are questions, there are templates that you can download as well. And I would love for you to access it. So, not long to wait now. We've only got 1 week to go until the release date of the book, coming out on the 17th of November 2025. As a reminder, I would absolutely love for you to join me for the global launch, which is going to be held online virtually. So you can join us from anywhere around the world and be there not only for celebration, but also it's going to be a really high impact, high value evening, 1 hour only. I'm going to do a masterclass. I'm going to do a focus in on identify your unique leadership signature. We're then going to do a live Q&A so you can ask me any question that's on your mind to do with leadership or your ambitions and where you're heading. Well, it's also a great opportunity to ask me any question that you have about the book. And of course, we'll celebrate and do some competitions and giveaways as well. So make sure you're there. It's completely free for you to attend. All you have to do is claim your ticket. So just head over to www.culturecuppa.com/book launch. And that link is in the show notes. So thank you. And I really hope you can join us for that. I'm going to share now the reflection questions from today's episode before we wrap up for today. So, your questions really to think about is the first question is how could sharpening your clarity, being able to communicate more articulately and concisely, help you in your leadership goals? And the second question is are you positioning your ideas and recommendations for your key stakeholders? These are great questions for you to reflect on. And I would love to continue the conversation I always love this as part of the podcast when you reach out and tell me what you think, what you have taken out from this, and the answers to these reflection questions. So, why not reach out to me on LinkedIn? My personal profile is Victoria Reynoldson, and I'd love for you to tell me what you found useful from this episode and what your answers to those personal reflection questions are. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It was absolutely brilliant to have you here. Really excited to share the upcoming launch of my new book, Become a Global Leader, coming out on the 17th of November 2025. And I really hope that you will join us for that global launch, our virtual event on the 17th at 6 p.m. GMT London time. Join us then. See you next time.